How you doing? Okay, so through all my years of studying, I've only found 6 ways that you can write any word in capital letters. And we're going to go through them. As you read from the beginning, the first way I want to look at is the acronym. Now, actually, the first 2 ways I want to look at, well, 3 ways, is languages. There's only 3 languages in the whole entire history of language that the capital letter word can be used. 3 languages, that's it. No one else, nothing else, yeah? Just 3 languages. The first language is English. Now, within the English language, this is Newhart's Rules, Oxford Style Guide. Now, within here, acronyms are classed under abbreviations and symbols. Now, abbreviations come in 3 different types. You have abbreviations in the strict sense of formed by omitting the end of a word or words. For example, lieutenant or century or association. You lose the end of the word, but you keep the beginning. So that you can see as an abbreviation, a shortened version of the word. The second type is a contractions. A contractions are formed by omitting the middle of a word or words, like doctor, limited, Mrs., reverend, street, or saint. Informal contractions, I've, he's, mustn't, are widely used but are not always appropriate. So, even little things like contractions as he is, or I have, or must not, are classed as contractions, as we see doctor, D-O-C-T-O-R, so you lose the middle and just keep the beginning letter and the end letter. Same with limited and Mrs. and reverend, etc. Now the last one is acronyms. This is the one I really want to focus on. Now the acronyms within the Newhart's Rules Style Guide, remember. Acronyms are formed from the initial letters of words. Acronyms are sometimes defined specifically as words formed from the initial letters of other words and pronounced as words themselves. AWOL, absent without leave. PIN, personal identification number. BOGOF, buy one, get one free. As opposed to initialisms. Now, this is where a lot of people get acronyms and initialisms mixed up because they think, but I'm going to read on anyway and it'll explain itself. As opposed to initialisms, which are formed from the initial letters of words but not pronounced as words. BBC, that's not a word like AWOL or PIN. It's BBC. It's just the initial. This is classed as initialisms, QED. Yeah? So it's not, if I was to say QUED, you wouldn't really go for that as a word. Yeah? So we go QED. This is initialisms. Don't get them confused. Acronyms will always spell a word, what you can say. I mean, like QED, QUED, could be a word. So we could probably use that as an acronym, but they choose to use it as an initialism. Yeah? Some acronyms are now treated as orthodox nouns. Examples include laser. Now, this is really important here. Let me just read on for a second. Laser, from light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. And scuba, self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Yeah? Now, I just want to pause there for a second because I want to look at these 2 words. Now, in any grammar book or any place you're looking to find what acronyms are about, you will usually get these 2 examples, laser or scuba. The reason being is that they don't want to give away the fact, remember fact, that it's made up and acronyms are made up of capital letter words and capital letters alone. Yeah? The only reason you can use laser and scuba is because no other word takes up that word within the dictionary, within the English dictionary. Scuba, not in the English dictionary. So it could be made into an acronym because there's only that word related to it, basically. But it's self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. So if there was an acronym, or if there was a word called scuba, for example, if somebody came along and done another word called scuba now they would have to have a different acronym, and their word would have to be as all capital letters, because the lowercase scuba has now already been taken. Even though it's an acronym, it's been taken. A fine example is here. What I'm trying to get across is like, okay, let's take the word ram. Now we know the word ram is an animal, yeah? Whether it's the capital letter R and a lowercase a and a lowercase m, or lowercase r, lowercase a, lowercase m, ram. That is the word what's going to relate to the animal. Now, if we wrote the word ram in all capitals, as it explains here in the Oxford Style Guide, RAM in all capitals, that within the computer language field would be random access memory. Do you see? It's like, for example, within the sleep world, you have REM, REM, and that's written with capital letters, rapid eye movement. Yeah, so when you're in sleep mode, your eyes will be moving, rapid eye movement, REM. Yeah, so we've got RAM, we've got REM. It depends in what department you're actually using the word within. Yeah, this is the acronyms. So acronyms are a part of abbreviations. Now, to go a bit further on the acronym, what I was just explaining as well about the lowercase letters. Here's another book. This is actually the Watkins Dictionary of Magic. Yeah, so this is actually a magic book, and every word in this book is basically a magic word. Yeah, so all these words are magic. Yeah, I won't flick through them. I just want to look at the word acronym. Now, within the Watkins Dictionary of Magic, the word acronym, let's read that for a second. A word formed from the initial letters of other words. For example, this is what I tried to explain just a minute ago. Look at what they've done here. Laser. They've used a lowercase word to explain what an acronym is, not a capital letter word like AWOL or PIN or bog off, which was the proper way of doing it. Yeah, but they want to come across that laser is an acronym written as lowercase letters. Yeah, they're trying to flip the script here. Yeah, so laser derives from light amplification by the stimulated emission of radiation, like we saw in the Oxford Style Guide. Exactly the same explanation, but they're missing out the first part of it. They've jumped down to the middle section of it, and they've left out the top part of it explaining AWOL, bog off and PIN. Do you see where they've put in the Watkins Dictionary of Magic? But anyway, apart from that, after what it says here, in the Kabbalah, acronyms were said to have related symbolic meanings. So acronyms within the Kabbalah, as I said before, like in the computer world or in the doctor world or in the sleep world or whatever, you've got different ways of looking at acronyms and abbreviations and what they stand for and what they mean. Now, in the Kabbalah, acronyms were said to have related symbolic meanings. Now, if we look at the Kabbalah has all of its own list of acronyms. While I was looking at that, and I'd done a Google search on that and found on Wikipedia, I then thought to myself, okay, let's look at the legal world of acronyms or abbreviations. And there's two different types. There's probably more, but I found two. One was just like a legal list of all abbreviations. And then you had another one which was just related to canon law. So already you've got two different types of acronyms, yeah? Okay, remember, this is just the way the word has been written in capital letters, yeah? As we see Jack Frost Adams. Remember, this is a language within the whole entire English language, as we've just seen. It can only be seen as an acronym. Now, if it's seen as an acronym like AWOL, absent without leave, 4 letters, AWOL. So let's look at Jack. What does Jack stand for? Jumping about, crunching crackers. Yeah. Now, so basically, Jack is an acronym. Frost is an acronym, and Adams is an acronym. Now, remember, when we read from the Oxford Style Guide, each letter was the initial letter of a different word. So what was that word this initial was taken from? So what was the J taken from? What was the A taken from? Etc. If you get the drift of where it's going here. Because this is the only way within the whole entire English language that we can write words in capital letters. It's an acronym which comes under the abbreviation. Remember, this is Newhart's rules, yeah? Oxford Style Guide. Cambridge probably got the same thing, yeah? This is language, grammar we're dealing with here, yeah? Okay, so let's move on to the next one. The next one, and the second language, remember, these are the only 2 languages in the history of language that can be used. The other version now is sign language. Now, the difference between sign language and acronyms is that sign language, between each of the words or each of the letters, they have hyphens to join the words together or the letters together, which we will see shortly. Now, as you see here, you have Jack Frost Adams. That would be seen as sign language. Thanks to Rohan Lorian and Romley Stewart over there in Queensland, doing a great job at breaking down this stuff as well. They discovered this in the Chicago Manual of Style, 16th edition. Yeah, so let's have a look at that. Now on page 531, we have the heading Foreign Languages, section 11 of the Chicago Manual of Style, 16th edition. This was discovered by Romley Stewart and Rohan Lorian, as I mentioned earlier on. Okay, so American Sign Language at the bottom here, section 11.144. 11.144. So let's go to there. Okay, so here we have American Sign Language. Sign languages, the visual gestural languages used by deaf people in different parts of the world, are called sign languages. Signed languages are quite different from spoken languages, although there may be regional effects of language contact. Any particular signed language may or may not share the same national or geographical boundaries as spoken languages in the same locations. The individual elements of these languages are known as signs. Cool. Okay, so let's just jump forward into section 11.147. Now this is the section what Romley Stewart and Rohan Lorian found, which was really useful to everybody. Thank you guys. I think everybody thanks you for this. Glosses in ASL. The written language transcription of a sign is called a gloss. Glosses are words from the spoken language written in small capital letters. Woman, school, cat. Alternatively, regular capital letters may be used. When 2 or more written words are used to gloss a single sign, the glosses are separated by hyphens. The translation is enclosed in double quotation marks. Now, just want to go over that. So, a gloss is words from the spoken language written in small capital letters or normal capital letters. The thing about it with the glosses and the words being used, when you go and look at sign language, all the words that are used are factual based words. They're factual based words. There's no little in between words to give confusion. It's all fact. As you see here, woman, school, cat, factual words. Yeah. Sign language is all built up around that. When two or more written words are used to gloss a single sign, the glosses are separated by hyphens. The translation is enclosed in double quotation marks. So as we saw earlier on with, as it said here about glosses of words from the spoken language, and we saw the woman's school cat. Now, when you want to put something like a sentence, let's look at a sentence. A car drove by. The only way I'll be able to sign that is if there were signs for words. Now, vehicle could be anything from a bucket carrying water to a car carrying a man or a woman. Yeah? A bicycle, a horse, a capsule holding powder. These are all vehicles. Yeah, they carry something within it. Yeah, don't get that confused. A vehicle is just not a car. Yeah, and it's not the same thing. So the sign for a car drove by is written as vehicle drive by. So as you notice straight away that all these words are written in capital letters. What they're trying to do is make you believe that a vehicle is a car. Whereas you can see here, it says a car drove by is written as. Now, underneath, one obvious limitation of the use of glosses from the spoken written language to represent signs is that there is no one-to-one correspondence between the words or the signs in any two languages. So what that basically is saying that how, even though you've got the written, which is the sign language, and the spoken, which is English, there's no correspondence between the words or the signs in any two languages. So whatever's written and whatever's shown as a sign and written in English, there's no correspondence between the two. It doesn't match, basically. Yeah, that's what they're basically telling us here. What Romilly Stewart and Rohan Lorian did miss out, though, which when I found, I was like, wow, they didn't really speak about this, was fingerspelling. Let's look at this for a moment. For proper nouns and other words borrowed from the spoken language, the signer may fingerspell the word, using the hand shapes from a manual alphabet. There are numerous fingerspelling alphabets used by different sign languages, amongst them the American manual alphabet. Fingerspelled words might be transcribed. Fingerspelled words may be transcribed in any of the following ways. Before we get there, let's just look at the sign language charts. Now here, as it says about there's numerous fingerspelling alphabets. Now, if we look at the American, which we're reading about here, American Sign Language, their signs for their hand shapes for each letter is different to the British Sign Language. And if that's different, well, it's probably going to be different all over the world. Yeah. So different shapes for the hand shapes for the different letters, and all the letters of the alphabet are all written as capital letters. There's no lowercase letters in sign language. Yeah, no lowercase letters. I've seen a couple of charts where they've just started to introduce the lowercase letter besides the capital letter, showing it, okay, this is a lowercase, looks like this, but they're not going to use that unless they bring the education barrier up for those individuals to read these words as sign within the sign language world, basically. So let's just look at how they write names in fingerspelled words. This is something what them guys missed out, and this is really important. As we see here, it says FS. FS just means finger spelling. So, John. They've got the John all in capital letters. No hyphens, no nothing. Just as you would see your name on your bank card, your passport, your driving license, your DVLA logbook, everything. Your bills, everything. Your name would look like that. John. Yeah? But, of course, your name. It wouldn't come as J-O-H-N. Yeah, because that would be giving the game away. And we would, of course, look into that and what they was doing. So they are allowed to write the name as John with no hyphens, as looking like. Yeah. Remember, as it said here, the written language transcription of a sign is called a gloss. Now, this finger spelling here, John, is a gloss because it's not English. Yeah, it's sign. So the other interpretations there is, of course, the capital letter word, John, with all the hyphens in between the letters, or you've got lowercase version, lowercase J-O-H-N with all the hyphens in between. Now, my question to everybody is, where's the English version of John there? Of course, it's not there because it's under foreign languages. Yeah, it's under foreign languages sections. This isn't English. This is a foreign language. So the English translation is not going to be there. So if you're reading John here as all capital letters, this is not the English translation. This is sign language under foreign languages. And all of these three different types would come as falling under sign language. Yeah. So now you can see that, okay, these two languages have been used to write our names. Yeah. So we've got English as an acronym, and then we've got sign language as sign, basically finger spelling. Okay, the third way there is ancient Latin. Now, ancient Latin looks very similar to sign language. The only difference is with sign language you have hyphens. With ancient Latin you have interpuncts, the little dots in between, in the middle of the center of the space between the words to join them together. Yeah, so exactly like sign language, the hyphen's there to join the words together. The interpunct is there to join the words together in Latin, in ancient Latin. But because ancient Latin hasn't been used for over 200 years, we can scrap that. Yeah, but that is the other way. Now, what I would say with ancient Latin and with sign language, if we remove the hyphen or we remove the interpunct, it still looks like English acronyms. And that's the only thing it can be, because you're debasing the language. You're debasing the language of sign, and you're debasing the language of ancient Latin if you remove the interpunct or you remove the hyphen. It's not its language anymore. You've just destroyed the language. Yeah, you can't remove something from its language. Now, David Wynne Miller uses sign language. He uses all his words, hyphens in between all his words to pull them together. Now, there's no other language that uses that. Yes, David Wynne Miller has a technique, but he doesn't, and he hasn't told anybody that he's actually using the language of sign. Yeah, he's leaving it as proper original sign language. At least he's not debasing it and removing the hyphens so it just looks like separate words. John, Philip, Andrew, Martin, whatever. Yeah, or however the sentence is written. As we all seem to write, is notice to principal is notice to agent. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Yeah, that will be written in all capital letters. Some people, or David Wynne Miller and that following, they use the hyphens in between. This is basically sign language they're writing. Yeah, and it can pass within the legal world because the legal world is a fiction world, and it's all done through signs and symbols and stuff. But we can get into that later. So, going back to all the three languages. So, the first language we have is English. Oxford Style Guide Grammar explains it's an abbreviation which falls under the acronyms or initialisms. The second was sign language, which we saw from the Chicago Manual of Star, thanks Romley Stewart and Rohan Lorien. And the third version was ancient Latin, but that hasn't been used for over 200 years, so we can just forget that. Okay, now, going on to the other three. The other three now, as you see, the name is written, again, all in capital letters, as we saw with an acronym. But now, because we are all and have been all being placed in the Law Society via our birth certificates, we are now within the legal system, which is run by the abbot, which is the Prime Minister. Yeah, the Lex Mercatoria, the law merchant. Go and read it. Now, the thing about it, because we're living in a fictitious world, we are given fictitious names, and then fictitious names are written in capital letters. Now, yes, that can be seen within the legal world and the Law Society. It's the Law Society's language, remember. As we saw with the legals, they use acronyms in canon law and everything else. But I don't see our names there. Now, the thing about it is, with the language they use, they call it legalese. Legalese is not a language. It's the words of the grammar that's used within the legal system, and that's it. The legal profession. Yeah, it's a profession word, like if you was to use random access memory in the computer world, that would stand for random access memory. Now, all these words they're writing in legal, like driver, for example. Okay, driver written in all capital letters means one who's employed. Yeah, so if you're a driver, it means you're employed. If you're not employed, you're not a driver. Yeah, with the other way, your name is written as like that because they're doing business with you. Yeah, remember, from the birth notification form to the certified copy of an entry, we've been made into corporations so that commerce can be done, basically. Now, we're being seen as the other party within the contract that is being made between the corporation, whoever is doing business from their end, to us. They're seeing us and they've written us as an implied company. That's how you can write implied company names. Yeah, because it's a fiction. Yeah, it's an entity, but it's a legal fiction entity, fictitious entity. Now, the only other way you can write is company titles. Now, the beauty about this is once you get, okay, when you look at the implied version would usually have a Mr. at the front of it because that's what gives that legal entity its title. Yeah, every legal entity has to have a title. Yeah. Now, when you look at the expressed version of it, remember, implied means that they can do something to you, but they don't have to tell you what they've done. So they can make you into a company, but don't have to tell you. I'll show you that in the implied and express contracts. Yeah, we'll read over that. But when you look at the expressed company, the express company is written in all capital letters, exactly the same way as the implied. But the only difference is that the Mr. has now disappeared. And now, instead of the title being at the front of the name, the title's now at the end of the name. So the name comes first, not the title. The name comes first and then the title comes after, whether it's a limited company, whether it's a PLC, whether it's a LLP or whatever. Yeah, the company title status, that is your status that's been changed. You're taking the front of the title, which is your Mr. or Mrs. or whatever you've got there, and you're putting it at the end of your name, which it doesn't start the name now, so they can't say you are a custodian under their incumbency of their office. Yeah, because you don't have a Mr. Now you're saying you're out of the incumbency. Now you have a status title after your name. So your name comes first and then the title. So this is a limited company. Yeah. Now with that, Companies House states that there can only be one name written like that. basically, and used as that corporation and can be registered as a company. So anybody writing to you without the limited, without the LLP, without the LLC or PLC or whatever you got at the end of your name, if nobody writes that at the end of your name, that doesn't belong to you. Yeah? Because there can only be one company with that name. And once you claim that company at Companies House, then everybody has to write your name now with that LTD or LTC or PLC or whatever letters after. Yeah? Remember that. Very, very important. No company can write to you. They have to address your company now because it's been registered. Yeah? And that's the company title. That's legal as well as law. But I don't want to go too much onto this. I hope this video kind of like breaks down a lot and shows you, and I kind of like explained it to a certain degree. I mean, again, we will probably have some other Zoom meetings and stuff and we can go into this further. But for the overall general, I hope you get the grasp of this because this is really important. Remember, there's only 2 languages we can now use. One, English. And if it's English they're using and you're writing your name in the capital letters, get them to explain what the acronym is. Yeah? And then if it's not, then it can only be sign language. Yeah? You don't belong in the Law Society. So that's not your language. That's the language of the Law Society, legalese. So if anybody's writing your name as capital letters, ask them, what language are you writing it in? First of all. You don't need to go no further. Yeah, if you've done your company, then, and it doesn't come with your limited or LLP or LCT or whatever at the end, then you can return to sender. Because in law, they haven't written to your company. Yeah, because they've made an error on the form. But I don't want to keep this too much, but we can go deeper into this and talk about this in other discussions. I hope that's okay. And again, I'm just going to leave these bits and pieces up so you can see and read over it for yourself. Yeah? Peace.